Some of you already know Maria DePasquale. She is a registered nurse, a certified energy health practitioner. She's also a meditation guide and an artist, which is going to come into play tonight. So she takes all of that widespread background and where everything overlaps, she creates this very cool process that results in something really, really interesting. And she's going to share with us what that is tonight. And the focus tonight is to help us overcome self doubt. But I would imagine, and Maria, you can definitely speak to this more. I would imagine that a lot of the processes that she's going to talk about tonight and the creative exploration could be applied to a lot of the limiting beliefs and a lot of the things that are going on sort of in our subconscious that are holding us back. So, with that, I am very, very, very excited to present to you Maria DePasquale. Take it away, Maria.
Thank you, RC. Thank you and welcome to everybody. I'm so glad you're here, whether you're here live or for the recording. I have a lot in store for us this evening, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. So what I want to do first is start off with a story. I'm going to tell a story. And this story is something that is said to have come from Russia and be a very ancient story. And it's called the story of Vasilisa. And Vasilisa is a young girl, and she has a father who's a merchant and a mother who's very kind and generous mother. And she grows up in this little bubble of love and happiness there in this village in Russia. And when she's about 8 years old, her mother gets really, really sick. And her mother gets so sick that she can't get out of bed anymore. And she calls for Vasilisa to be next to her, and Vasilisa enters the room, and the mother touches her face and tells her how much she loves her and that she knows that her time is short. And Vasilisa is just doesn't know what to think. So the mother takes her hand, and as she's holding her hand, the mother reaches under the blanket and pulls out this little doll, this tiny little doll. And this little doll is made of cloth, and it's dressed just like Vasilisa is dressed. It has little black socks on, it has a white dress on, it has a little red apron over top of it. And the mother hands it to Vasilisa and says, "This is my gift to you. This will be with you. Hide it in your pocket. No one else needs to know about it. And if ever you need help or assistance with anything, give her a little bit of food and a little bit to drink, and she will help you." So Vasilisa takes the doll and tucks it in her pocket. And a few days later, her mother dies. So Vasilisa gives a little bit of food and a little bit of water to the doll, and the doll helps her with her grieving process. And as she and her father are grieving the loss of her mother and his wife, eventually he decides he needs a new wife. So he finds a woman that he thinks is kind and will be a complement for Vasilisa. And in fact, she has two other daughters. And so they marry, and the merchant father brings them into the home, and they're very sweet and kind until the father leaves the house. And then the mother and the two sisters are mean and nasty and make her do all sorts of things. But she touches the doll, and she gives it a little bit of food and a little bit of water, and the doll helps her get through all of the nasty chores that they're getting her to do and to take care of responsibilities far beyond what she should be responsible for. Well, it comes to pass that her father, as a merchant, is leaving town for an extended period of time and going out of the country. And so the mother comes up with this plan. She's trying to figure out how to get rid of Vasilisa because she's mean and nasty. So she comes up with a plan that as the fire in the front room is going down and the fire in the kitchen is going down, she's going to let it go out and just have the light of a candle. And they're not going to be able to survive without having a fire in the hearth. And so the mother says to Vasilisa, "I need you to go out into the woods, find Baba Yaga, the old witch that lives in the wood, and get some fire and bring it back so that we have enough fire for the hearth." So Vasilisa, she's pretty brave and daring little girl. She has to be, but now she's a little scared of going into the woods. She touches the doll, gives it a little bit of food, a little bit of drink, and the doll says, "Yes, we can do this." And so they go into the woods. It's very dark. There's a lot of noises, a lot of sounds. She's really scared, and she's walking and walking and walking. And then she sees ahead of her this big, old, cockeyed house with a tilted roof and a door that one side is tall and one side is small, and its foundation is on chicken bone legs, and it has a fence of human bones. Now she's frozen with fear. She just collapsed. Well, right there is where Baba Yaga finds her. And Baba Yaga is angry. She doesn't like anybody near her place or her things, and demanding, "What are you doing here?" So the little girl says, "Well, I was sent here to get fire for my mother and my sisters, and we really need it." So Baba Yaga rubs her hands together and says, "Great, this will be good." And she's thinking she's going to have this little girl for dinner. But she says to Vasilisa, "You need to do some chores before I'll do anything for you." And so she has her do cooking, making massive amounts of food, enough food to feed people for a week. Then Baba Yaga wants her to clean the entire house. When Baba Yaga comes back, she's astonished. This makes her even angrier. So she said, "Okay, now I want you to do the laundry." So finally, Baba Yaga decides, this is too much. She says to her, "Now what I have for you to do is you have to pick the poppy seeds out of the soil." And the doll says, "We can do this. Go to sleep. I'll take care of everything." Baba Yaga flies back in. She cannot believe what is going on here. "I have one question for you. How have you been able to do all this?" And Vasilisa said, "It's through the blessings of my mother." So, big story. We can't get through all of it, full of metaphors and symbols for our imagination. And that really leads us into the doorway of what tonight is about. It's about using our imagination, our intuition, and finding our way as individuals, as women in our lives. Because for so long, we have been told what to do and taught what to do, and we've learned it really well. We've had that, some of us have had that good mother, like is in the story. Some of us haven't had that good mother that's in the story. And some of us have had everything in between. But it's time for us, like in this story, to learn to be our own good mother and to learn ways of living and ways of life that are challenging, but really fulfilling when we're able to deal with them and pass through the challenges. And I know several of you here on the call have been through, and I'm going to assume that everyone has been through big traumas and little traumas in their life, challenges in their life that some of them are easy to get through and some of them are really difficult to get through. If you really want to pick that story apart, if you would read the book Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Este, she does a beautiful job of detailing all of the symbols and pieces of that story together. We won't have time for that tonight. Because, in this age, there's not much time for storytelling. But I really believe there's so much value in storytelling that it hits us in a place that's even deeper. That tonight, maybe as you go to sleep tonight, or when you wake tomorrow morning, or you see a doll somewhere along the way, some of these images might come back to you in certain ways. And in this hustle age that we live in, where you've got to do more, be more, um, you know, be successful at everything, it's hard to take the time to listen to what's going on inside. And it's easy to think that you're not doing enough, that I'm not doing enough, that I'm not working hard enough, I'm not meditating enough, I'm not walking enough, I'm not, making enough money, I'm not producing enough art, I'm not as successful as I want to be, all these not enoughness. And actually, maybe we're doing too much. It may be that we're doing too much and trying too hard. And that really the secret of it is that we need to pay attention in a different type of way. So, our culture can be really tricky. I'm sure you all know about advertising and what the influence that advertising has over all of us, and what, the different facets of creating money, creating power through money, and using that power to impact the world in different ways. And sometimes the most successful ways of doing that are to make us feel less than. You're not thin enough. You're not muscular enough. You're not drinking the right soda. You're not drinking the right wine. You're driving the wrong car. You're walking too much. You're walking too little. You eat too many calories. Calories don't count. Like boom, boom, boom. It comes from everywhere. And like with Vasilisa, she had a place she would go to over and over again. And where do we go to over and over again? Is it to our boss? Is it to our parents? Is it to our siblings? Is it to our partner? Is it to our children? Or do we go to ourselves? How often do we go into ourselves to see what wisdom might be in there? It's really easy to bury ourselves in self-doubt. Really easy. I don't know about you folks, but I do it every day. Every day is a challenge, and every day I get better and better at it. And so I'm really like enjoying this part of my life because I've never had less self-doubt than what I have now. I still have to deal with it, but it's less heavy than it's ever been. And so that makes the culture nervous. And it may make your friends or your relatives or your partners a little nervous too when you start sharing with people that you connect with yourself to see what lessons there are to learn and to be shared. But we all want to dream. And kind of the really sad part for me sometimes when I've worked with people in various places and sometimes kids or people that really struggle to have enough money to pay bills and have been through really difficult times of abuse and things like that is they forget how to dream. And we can all forget how to dream. We get so caught up in the everyday parts of life and paying the bills and making the money and taking care of kids and grandkids and all that sort of thing that we forget how to dream. Some people say they don't remember their dreams at night, but we dream at night and we can have daydreams. And both of these types of dreams can bring us treasures, ways of exploring, problem solving, getting new ideas, checking into emotions, shifting our fears. All these things, all these aspects are available to us for free once we learn to practice a way to get inside and be in touch with that part of ourselves. True transformation comes from small, consistent actions. Small, consistent actions. Small ways of connecting to our imagination. They just accumulate and get bigger and bigger and bigger. Sometimes I talk about the one snowflake. You got one snowflake, okay, two snowflakes, and then, more and more and more, and all of a sudden you're shoveling. Like that's where I want people to be able to go when they're connecting with themselves, to be able to touch in one small snowflake way and then be able to call in a snowstorm of information, of connection, of being one with something that is bigger than us and beyond us. So all of this can put us in touch with our self-doubt and our anxiety, our self-criticisms in a way that is more compassionate and more forgiving. There's an avenue to get there. That's not a voice yelling in your head that you're not enough, that you didn't do it right, that there's a better way, that you should do more. I really like to call it imagination. You can also call it intuition. And, with your imagination and intuition, you can go anywhere and do anything. I once heard somebody said, just close your eyes for a second and you can be anywhere. But I also know that for some people, it can be hard to even close their eyes, that can be a scary experience for them. So no matter where you are in that comfort level, there's a way to begin to access what it is that's within you that is ready to show itself. So you don't have to close your eyes, but you can soften your gaze a little bit. You can stare off into the distance. People call it daydreaming, right? How many times did you have the teacher tell you, quit daydreaming? And a brave person might say, well, if it weren't so boring, I might not be daydreaming, but probably people just snapped to it right away and felt ashamed and paid attention or felt angry and pissed off the teacher a little bit more. All those different variables that went into it. But slowly but surely, our imaginations were shut down. Or how many times would you hear people say, oh, it's only your imagination? Especially with little kids, it's only your imagination. Maybe it's more. Maybe the imagination is more of a reality than ever. So RC alluded to this in the beginning. What I've developed is a process called imaginative explorations. And so it's a combination. I started out maybe 10, 15 years ago doing tapping on meridian points, energy points on the body. And I really appreciated that. That had a huge impact for my life. And as a nurse, I was able to teach it to my patients, teach it to staff members, teach it to doctors, other nurses, social workers, and it was really, really valuable, and it's still valuable. But what I've learned more recently is that I can layer in other things with the tapping, storytelling, for instance, Creativity with creating art is another thing. So this process shows you how to use creativity as a pathway for self-compassion. And it pulls everything together to help you open that up within yourself. So the pathway, the process, we're going to hit on 3 aspects of it tonight. It's simple, it's elegant, it's not necessarily easy. The reason it's not necessarily easy is because you might have to stir things up and change your behaviors and do things a little bit differently. And that again is where the ability to take small steps, small actions, and celebrate that within yourself as you're taking those actions and not say, well, I didn't meditate every day for an hour. Oh, but I meditated 3 days this week for 3 minutes a day. Good job. Good job. That is different than how you had been behaving and living your life before. And that is awesome stuff. So no matter what it is, sustaining a change for ourselves, it takes time, it takes practice, it takes energy, it takes patience. There's a lot of research out there now. There are MD doctors, PhD doctors writing about how 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes a day of a new practice can make a huge impact in your life. And they're measuring that and proving that it's true. They're also looking at the impact that we have had in our lives of small traumas and large traumas and everything in between, and helping us to understand that what we struggle with is not necessarily our fault. It's part of the way we've been programmed, part of the way we've been trained, part of the way that we've been brought up in society, within our families, within our school systems, within our religious systems, all throughout our culture. These past traumas can influence our thoughts. And you may have heard somewhere along the way, our thoughts impact our body. It actually creates a pharmaceutical release of chemicals, hormones, norepinephrine, all sorts of things. And depending on what those thoughts are, they can be uplifting or they can be really pulling you down. And so one of the ways of simply starting is by beginning to notice your thoughts. So step 1 is give yourself permission to start exactly where you are. That's step 1. And at first it can be confusing because you might not know exactly where you are. You may not know how to sit and just sense what's happening in your body. Where's the tension? Where are the relaxed parts? What hurts? What doesn't hurt? Sometimes you don't even want to know what hurts. So a lot of times we're running from what's happening in our body. And if that's where you are, perfect. That's exactly where you need to be. And listening to our thoughts. What are our thoughts saying? What are we thinking? What is that voice in our head saying? I remember the first time I realized I had a voice in my head. Like it was always there, but somehow I didn't recognize it until someone mentioned that I had a voice in my head. And once they did, I was like, oh my gosh, they're not very nice to me. They don't treat me like a friend. That voice in my head treats me like I'm not enough and I'm a shameful person. And so just giving yourself permission sounds little, but it's a huge first step. The second thing, and this can be a little bit harder, especially if you've never done it before, but listening to story, that gets us started and keeps us going in certain ways, to using guided imagery, guided meditation. People call it 2 different names. I see it as a guide taking you on a journey in your imagination into a place that you wouldn't go otherwise, and seeing what you see, hearing what you hear, smelling what you smell. And we're going to come back and do a little exercise with that before the night ends here. The third step is to create an outward expression of your inner dreams, of your inner imaginings. And that third step, one of the ways that it can be done is by creating a spirit doll. And a spirit doll can remind you of who you are and who you want to be. And just like that little doll that Vasilisa had carrying around in her pocket, you can create a doll that carries with it some of your yearnings, your beliefs, your dreams. And it can be a reminder for you, a beautiful reminder for you. And I'll show you some photos of that also. All right. So I'd like to take you on a little guided meditation. Before we start, if you don't have a pen and paper nearby, I'm going to give you a minute or two to just grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, something to mark with. If you can settle into your chair, your couch, your bed, wherever you are, and just take a nice deep breath in with me and let it out. You can make sound with it if you want. And I'm going to ask you to take another breath in, hold it a second, and then let it out through your mouth. A third time, a breath in, and release all of the energies from today prior to now, and just allow yourself to notice what's happening in your body. Notice where you might feel tension, relaxation, what parts of your body might be cold, what might be warm or hot, or even sweaty. Notice how you're sitting and holding yourself, how your shoulders are resting, if your jaw is clenched or relaxed. And as you notice that, just take a nice breath in and breathe out. And just follow your natural flow of breath work. And now I invite you to use your imagination and see yourself standing, and you notice a light. Notice the color of that light. What color is there? That color is just for you. Notice the color of that light and keep walking towards that light because it's friendly, it's safe, it's protected, it protects you. It's for your highest good. And as you walk towards the light, it gets brighter and brighter until you are standing surrounded by this light. And a few feet away, you notice a pool of water. It's crystal clear. And you walk towards it and lean over and you look into this beautiful crystal clear pool of water and you see your reflection. You see your reflection and you feel very, very calm and excited at the same time. And as you lean over and you're looking, you ask, what is it that I need to know now? Is there one word or two words? Is there an image? Is there a color? Is there a sensation? And whatever it is that comes to you, allow it to come to you. It may make sense. It may make no sense at all. That doesn't matter. And it may be that you don't sense anything. It may be one big blank. And that's okay too, because you're exactly where you need to be. And accept whatever it is that you receive. And as you look into the water, ask if there is anyone or anything that would like you to know of their presence. And there may not be. It may be someone you know, someone you've never met. It may be an animal. It may be a part of nature. And if you just reach your hand in and become part of their essence and they become part of your essence, and you just take that and touch that to your heart area. And then with gratitude, you thank the crystal clear water for what you have received. And you know that you can come back here anytime, with or without a guide. You return to consciousness of your body, and you began to wiggle your fingers, your toes, your arms, and your legs, and open your eyes and stretch and let all that beautiful imagination energy run through you. Yeah, give a big yawn, a big wiggle. Get up and do a little dance if you want. Yeah. So I hope that you each had, oh, good yawns. Energy moving through you. You haven't heard it before. Yawns are welcome. And just go and take a moment and notice how you're feeling. Notice how your body's feeling. If it feels any different than it did before we started the guided meditation, the sensations, the tension, the relaxation, the cool, the warm. Notice the thoughts in your head. Are they the same? Have they changed? Notice where your general energy is. We haven't talked a lot about energy tonight, but energy is involved with everything, whether we talk about it or not. And just notice where you are in this moment. And then I want you to think about when you were at that crystal clear water, what you received. Was it a word? Was it a sensation? Was it an image? Something physical? Something not physical? And if you want to, you can put it in the chat.
I can share mine, which was I have been struggling with some kind of brain fog today and just kept running into the same wall over and over, the same problem, and I couldn't solve it. And I think it was a very quick little flash. It
Mm,
was like a reflection in the water as if it was like in the sky, and it kind of, and I was like
mm,
looking for it. But to have that moment of quiet and let my mind just, it was, it's a very interesting experience, definitely. So
mm.
a little sobering.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, it
It
was
can
really
be amazing. Sometimes I say it's like doing psychedelics without having to take a drug. You get to go places, that you've never been before.
yeah. We
Yeah.
have a couple other things popping into the chat.
Okay.
Um, Diane saw a big blue fish. Oh, that's fun
Ooh.
and interesting. Leslie said she saw her grandmother.
Um,
That's awesome. I'm sure that there is a lot of metaphor, and I'm sure we could unpack these for days of what they mean or what they represent. And I'm sure to everyone it's something different. So it's very interesting that we have vastly different um everyone saw something completely different. So
mhm, mhm, mhm. Great. Because what I'd like to invite you to do next is think about what you received. So, Leslie, I think grandmother. So, G for grandmother. Diane, a bluefish. You can say BF for bluefish. RC, I don't know, problem solved or some key word within that problem solved. Just give it the first letter that will trigger that memory for you. Sharon and Brenda, if there was anything that came to you, just take the first letter of one of the words that would be significant for you, and then put that letter, just write that letter on a piece of paper that you will look at again. I'm just going to put an I for imagination for myself. So I just put the I on a piece of paper. You can see it's nothing fancy. And then what I want you to do is to draw a squiggly line around it in a circle. And then I want you to draw another squiggly line in a circle. So you've got two squiggly lines going around that letter. And those squiggly lines are energy or frequency or vibration. And, the connection within ourselves and the connection in the world around us, again, it's energy. And so, whatever it is that came to you today came to you for some reason. Like RC said, we could spend a lot of time playing with that, which would be a lot of fun to do. We're not going to do it tonight. And, but if you just take this as an experiment and put it somewhere where you're going to see it over the next few days, and just see what happens when you notice it and pay attention. Maybe nothing will happen different. Maybe something will, but it's something to play with. Okay. And just a reminder that we are energy and everything around us is energy. And we can get into all the quantum physics and metaphysics and all that sort of thing another time. So I believe creativity connects to spirit. And whatever you call it, as I said, quantum physics, infinite intelligence, the vast unknown, whatever it is that is bigger beyond us, that infuses us with life, that infuses us with our imagination and our intuition and our intention and all of those things. And so, what will be happening in the future is I will be presenting a workshop for creation of spirit dolls. And we will layer in these different actions, the tapping, the guided imagery, the creation of the dolls, and spending time together to put it all together and process through it and see what occurs for us, um, both internally and externally as next steps within our pathways. And so I thank you for your attention. I hope that you will remember the story of little Vasilisa, and also remember to take a look at your creative, energetic gift that you received tonight and see what the future brings for you in the present. So thank you all.
That's incredible. This is the part typically where we would talk about what this workshop would be. And I know you talked about that a little bit as well already, that we kind of break down this process. We're going to be inviting Maria to come and run this workshop, and we're going to create our spirit dolls. Is that correct?
Yay. Yes, we are.
Yay. Do you want
Oh,
to
and
show us those?
yes, great.
This is something you've done previously in a retreat, right? With some
Yes,
of your clients, and
yes.
created some spirit dolls. And so you guys get to see what these look like.
Show you some examples of spirit dolls that were made at the retreat. So we had fabric and little odds and ends, and you can see the different fabric. There were ribbons, baubles, little flowers. The arms on many or all of them are made out of tree branches that we found outside. I'm going to show you another one if I can.
They're really pretty. They have this very, and you can see too, like so much personality. You can almost read. I would imagine if the people were sitting in front of me, I would want to. I would try and match the doll to the person.
Here's one close up. You can see again, the arms are from a branch. There's a ribbon holding them up, all sorts of baubles around the head and feathers. These are pieces of jewelry that people used and fabric cut out from lace supplied.
And
Um, so very,
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna guess that a lot of these little components and artifacts and things that they put on there are meaningful, right? I would imagine they have representation, and that's yeah.
right. As people created these dolls, there was a lot of different emotions, a lot of different hopes and dreams. Some some were about letting go, some were about creating new, some were about ancestors, some were about the future. So yes, the variation that comes from within each person of what they need is just so varied and so different.
Yeah.
And such an amazing story, for people that are able to share what the story is. It's it's very, very meaningful and a lot of fun. And once you get moving with it, it's hard to stop.
Yeah, no,
And
they
then
really.
you get to it's yours, forever. I had done a spirit doll, and for me, I was able to choose my own fabric, and I have a thing for fabric. I don't know, it's like some outfits, throughout my life that had great meaning. So I had a nightgown that was made of a blue silky material that I had when I had my babies. And then I had this lime green silk um, top that I loved the texture and I loved the look and I loved the feel of wearing it. I felt very pretty in it. And I couldn't throw it away. Like it needed to be thrown away. It was useless to wear, but I kept it. And when I learned about spirit dolls, I was like, I'm going to use that fabric. So I created the body of the spirit doll out of that fabric and then added other things. So in the workshop, people can, know ahead of time what the materials are that
Yeah.
are suggested for creating the spirit dolls, and they can make their own selection at home and take a walk and pick a branch. I had one here I wanted to try to pull up, but I'm not sure I'm going
Yeah.
to be able to get it. One woman made a spirit doll from a kitchen wooden spoon instead of a branch from
Oh,
outside.
clever.
And in the mouth of the spoon was the word peace, so
Oh,
it can be, and her clothing was out of a t-shirt that she fringed, and it looked like,
oh,
so you
cute.
wouldn't know it was from a t-shirt. It was very, very cool. Another person made theirs completely out of branches and
Mhm.
just took it an entirely different direction. So again, it can be so many different ways of expressing yourself. And then, as I said, you get to bring it home and remind you of who you are and who you want to be.
Yeah, I love that. I think,
Yeah.
and I love that it ties back into the story, which has a lot of the initial story that you told at the beginning. I heard a little bit of Cinderella in there.
Mm-hmm.
Classic Cinderella story with the stepmom and the sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think there's like, I'm sure we could spend hours unpacking and all the metaphor in that story.
Oh,
I,
yeah.
that sense of what I get from that is that sense of belonging or not belonging, right? Something important being taken from her, losing, grieving her mother, and then sort of being put into this space where she doesn't belong. It feels like she doesn't belong anymore. And having this doll that's this little thing that's got her back.
Mhm.
And I think that's really important. And I think that a lot of people who, we kind of call ourselves survivors in terms
Absolutely.
of, trauma. But I think having that feeling of like, hey, somebody's got my back
Mhm.
is really important. So
Absolutely.
awesome. Well, Maria, I cannot thank you enough, especially in a holiday week of gratitude, a week of gratitude. But I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to share spirit dolls with us, tell us some amazing stories. These are going to be very memorable for a long time. And thank everyone for coming as well. And we will be getting some information out about the master classes. I'm sorry, about the workshop. We are running master classes every week from for last month and until the last month or last week of December, I believe. I'll have to double check the calendar. We'll send out a calendar notification with what's upcoming, but we're doing 2 a week now till the end of the year. Different master classes, different topics, different presenters, and then the next phase of it is all of these experts get to present a workshop, and we get to dive deeper into what they presented, what they talked about tonight. So Maria, yours is going to be it's my understanding we're gonna be doing some EFT, we're gonna be doing some guided visualization and meditation, and we get to bake some spirit dolls, which is very, very cool. So I'm excited for that. So everyone keep an eye on your inbox because we're gonna be sending all of that information out shortly. We have to coordinate schedules and all kinds of things, but so
I'll just add,
yeah.
RC, if I can, that I'm just thrilled with the work that you are doing with your team to be able to bring these types of resources to people in a large way. And I'm so impressed with how you are building it as you are crossing the bridge or flying the plane, as they say. And just think that that's a wonderful teaching and experience for me to witness and be a part of. So, really.
Well, we are very happy to have you. I that is very much exactly the right definition. We are flying the plane and building it at the same time. This is
Yeah,
a huge undertaking. We're like, oh, we need wings. Too bad we already took off. Um,
we're
so
doing it anyway.
yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll glide or we'll crash land on the way. I don't know. We'll be all right though.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are. It's a huge undertaking. We have about 20 experts, and like I said, we're doing master classes at least twice a week. From all through November and December. And then in January is when we officially launch Survivor School, which will be an online platform for survivors of all walks of life to come together and find resources to help support them in what we're calling the 4 pillars, which is health, wealth, love, and happiness. Because we know that healing from trauma is not a mental health problem. It's a whole life problem. It touches every single component of our lives. So we need resources to help us handle that. And Maria, you absolutely, I mean, you land in so many of those buckets, right? Your health background and a lot of the work that you do helps with chronic health and sleep, insomnia and getting better sleep, relationships and with other people and self-love. as well,
Mhm.
and the happiness bucket, and finding that joy and the things that bring us love and joy and excitement for life. So yeah, I mean, you span all of them. So you may see a few workshops from Maria coming up, because there's just she just brings a lot to the table. So awesome, Maria. Well, thank you so
Thank you.
much, and happy Thanksgiving to all of you. And thank you for coming and hanging out late with us as we dive into this fun stuff. So awesome. Have a great night, everyone.